Hi. Yeah. Next question is from Sherry, and I think we work together. Yeah. Either that, or you have the same name as somebody that I work with, and who does a very nice job. So I don't know. Yeah. Whatever. Yeah. Good morning, Sherry. Let's see. So, can you tell us anything about the new pig virus with pandemic potential? Oh my gosh, you saw that? Yeah. I filed a thing for, I think it's going to be on Healthline about this, and I've had a look at the paper. Yeah, this is another reassortant, which, yeah, flu loves to reassort. So, flu viruses are broken up into these little segments, and each segment has a gene or sometimes two genes kind of overlapping each other on it. And when you get two flu viruses that happen to run into the same animal, then you can get mixing and matching. And so they can sort of mix up those segments. And as long as they end up with one copy of each one, then potentially it's a viable virus. Yeah. And so this is what's happened. Now, the interesting thing about pigs is that they um, can get some of the bird viruses, the bird flu viruses, and they can get some of the human flu viruses. And of course, they also have their own pig flu, swine flu viruses. And so, what this is they've looked and they've shown that in pigs, there is this new one. It's oh my gosh, what was it called? Genotype 4, I think. And it has some little bits from a Eurasian avian flu. I'm trying to do this without looking at the paper. So it's got some bird flu components. It's got some components from pandemic flu of 2009. It's got some components, I believe, from the regular circulating swine, version of flu, and they're all combined together. And so, if you're sitting there thinking, I mean, what this sort of invites us to do is imagine that creature. Yeah. I think I used in the helpline thing, like a griffin. Yeah. So just with the head of a majestic eagle and the body of a lion, is like the lion's powerful, could tear you apart. And that's like the worst case scenario, is if it combines all the worst parts of all these things. But there's a lot of other scenarios. Like, what if it's the opposite? What if it's this big, fat, heavy lion head that just, on a little skinny bird neck and little bird legs at the back with a big fluffy tail like that? Yeah. Is that frightening? No. Or is that just silly? Yeah. You'd have trouble just be dragging its head along the ground. Those kind of combinations are just as likely as the griffin, and probably more likely because there's a lot more of them. And what they find when they try to make flu vaccines is that you can put any parts you want together, but you can't always get them to boot up. They don't always work. And so, yeah, right now there's evidence that this thing exists and it can grow in pigs. And if you were to put it on human lung cells, it could grow there. And it can use the receptors that you find on those particular human lung cells most commonly. Yeah, there's different things they can use as a receptor in different parts of the lungs, depending on the preference of the virus. Oh my gosh, it's all, yeah, very complicated, but actually kind of simple. There's like two. Yeah. um, yeah. So I think it sounds scary, but I think that's right now just in your mind. They did a survey and found that at least some people have antibodies to at least some of the components of this virus, although it's not necessarily this particular combination that they got. You wouldn't be able to figure out, where you picked up a little bit of immunity against a swine hemagglutinin, something like that. Yeah, so it has potential, but we live in a world full of viruses that have potential. And thankfully, pandemics are rare, like this one. Yeah, but we know from that paper from Vietnam that, like, for example, coronaviruses spread just routinely from bats to all kinds of other mammals. Um, and we know that there is a whole host of SARS-like viruses out there that can all readily, easily invade human cells and have all the same basic machinery as SARS coronavirus 2. So why wouldn't they, cause the same disease? And the answer is, I don't know, you don't know, nobody knows until you do the experiment. Yeah. Um, Basically, everything out there is a little bit sick all the time. Everything has one or more viruses pretty much from the time of birth, a little after birth. And that's just the world we live in. There are more viruses than anything else, and we live in a world of near misses, of missed connections, of barely escaped tragedies. Yeah. And thank goodness, but we do usually escape. So I'm not particularly worried about this virus. If it turns out to be the next pandemic, that is just an amazing stroke of luck in finding it, finding the right pig and looking at it and pulling out the virus and doing all this work on it. Yeah. But frankly, there are so many millions of these potential near misses out there that, yeah, you can't count them all, you can't study them all. And it's not about, like, will this particular one be the one that comes up next? It's a question of, all right, which one out of these millions of possibilities that could totally potentially cause a pandemic, which one's going to be the next one? Who's next? And the answer involves a lot of randomness, a lot of chance, and is, I believe, pretty much unpredictable. So yeah, so it's a good paper. It's just it's not the tolling of the death bell or whatever. Yeah, yet, as far as we can tell. Um, yeah. So there we go. And I guess all the social distancing and lockdowns will probably help keep it so that at least this virus doesn't come up and get us right now. But now that we know about it, we can potentially screen pigs for it. All that costs money. Money costs farmers money, and when farmers don't make money, then how are they supposed to, what are they supposed to do? Yeah, because that's their job. Yeah. So yeah, there are problems. Like, even if you could make a vaccine, would it be cost effective to vaccinate all these animals? And if you knock it out, will there be another virus waiting right behind it? The answer is, oh yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, that is the reality of the world we live in. And until we go to space and figure out some way to absolutely sterilize everything before it goes onto the spaceship, which I think is probably impossible, yeah, life's going to be like this, living in a world of uncertainty. But your immune system's great and has held up so far, and so far this isn't a pandemic of that particular swine virus. So thank goodness for some things, right? Yeah. All right. Thanks very much. This has been Ask Dr. Ben.